The green light has been given, and number 29 on our Season 3 leaderboard. Steve Mann will begin with just a forest. No Elvis Mystic to kick things off. Mystic Monastery there for Olsen. Mann with a mountain. There's the acceleration, Sylvan Carry added.
Very rough week for Steven in Chicago last week.
Yeah, not a great tournament.
I believe he was 2-3-2 before finally dropping.
Yeah, he was employing something I like to call a draw strategy.
Draw strategy.
Yeah.
Controversial.
A Soulfire Grandmaster there for Olsen. Mann with a Courser of Krufix. He'll play a Forest Gain of Life. Shaman of Forgotten Ways on top of the deck.
A card that we're seeing, I wouldn't even call it a resurgence, a surgence, because it's never been around before. But a card that's showing up, I guess, to exploit decks that are light on creatures, and especially decks like the Fog deck that we just saw that are trying to avoid combat altogether.
Yeah, pretty popular deck last week, and that was a way for some players to actually be able to beat the Turbo Fog deck, was the Biorhythm effect from Shaman of Forgotten Ways. See on top of the deck now a copy of Rattleclaw Mystic. There's a copy of Nykthos there for Mann. He'll gain a life from the Courser. Nykthos net neutral on mana right now, but that could change very quickly. Mann, a very methodical player.
And it's also just hard to play these turns. Right now, Steven Mann playing around Valorous Dance, playing around Disdainful Stroke. They're, playing around a potential Anger of the Gods next turn. There's just a lot to be thinking about.
Looks like he'll start with a Rattleclaw Mystic. And now a Nykthos activation for a copy of Nylea's Disciple. So the Disciple will resolve. 2, 4, 5, 6 life will be gained. And it looks like maybe even Course of the Krufix will come into the red zone here. 2-4 against a 2-2 seems like a good deal. So in it comes. Olsen will go down to 18, Mann at 28. All Mann can do is pass the turn back, knowing that he'll draw Rattleclaw Mystic next turn. Olsen with 3 mana. Looks like he's going to take a point of damage. We'll see what that's for. It's a copy of Jeskai Ascendancy. So right now, he's just getting set up.
No land drop.
Yep. Top card of the deck is a Pelucranos World Eater. Mann with some mana here. See if he wants to play. Again, the math of this deck is what makes it so difficult. Some players have been playing it for a while. Chris Anderson, Ross Merriam. Pretty easy for them. But if you haven't played it very much, I know Mann, based off of social media, hasn't played this deck a ton. But he finally kind of gave into it. He's kind of learning as he goes. Now he's got a Wishbolt Elemental and now Rattleclaw Mystic. But it looks like he's figuring it out pretty well.
Yeah, it looks like he's got this is close enough to right.
Yeah. My hand's empty. I've got a bunch of stuff on the board. I'm going to manifest the Pelucranos here in just a moment. We'll see the top card of Mann's deck here from the Courser in just a second. But this is the power. This is the power of Green-Red Devotion.
Yeah, this is what makes the deck so dangerous is Steve Mann didn't even really go off in any sort of sense. There's no Genesis Hydra, there was no enormous play. He just accelerated into a lot of high quality 4 and 5 mana threats, and now Joseph is really far behind.
And doesn't even have access to a great answer. I mean, Wrath effects from this sort of deck, they cost a lot. Anger of the Gods is here, but Wishbolt Elemental can do a pretty good job against that, I believe. We'll have to check the text on Wishbolt Elemental, see how it interacts with exiling, I suppose. But also there's with Soulfire Grandmaster too, a lot of life to be gained here.
Yep.
So this is a little bit interesting.
It says non-token neutral gains when this creature dies.
Okay.
So
Dies is different than exiles.
Yep.
Which is what Anger of the Gods does. However, Anger of the Gods does have lifelink right now because of Soulfire Grandmaster, so Olsen will get a nice boost in life total. That said, Mann will still have some things left behind because some of his creatures have 4 toughness.
It's interesting, though. You know, I've watched this sort of sequence happen with Jeskai aggro decks, Manus Rider style beatdown decks before, where, yeah, it looks really good, but it doesn't really matter all that much because, you know, eventually the Green Devotion deck is going to overpower anyway. Here, with Ascendancy in play, this Cushion of Life allows Joseph to really get a lot going out of Jeskai Ascendancy.
Elvish Mystic to play. Courser, Whisper Elemental coming to the red zone. It appears as though Mann may have forgotten his Manifest trigger on Whisper Elemental. The top card of the deck, I believe, is a copy of Seismic Rupture.
And if you look at Joseph's hand here, he is settling up for a real long game.
Yep.
And Hostilities, got Elspeth.
There's a Jace. Mann will draw a card. Top card of the deck. Wooded Foothills. That'll enter the battlefield. Mann will gain a life. Top card after that is another Courser of Crufix. Looking for those big payoffs. Here come the Knuckleheads. And Jace will block Elvish Mystic. 6 damage will come across. Looks like it will be time for that Seismic Rupture. 2 damage each creature without flying. Manifest, that'll be Courser. We'll see the top card of the deck here in just a moment yet again. It's a copy of Rattleclaw Mystic. Wouldn't be surprised to see Mann sacrifice that Wooded Foothills and shuffle that away.
It shows you the power of Jace. I think it was absolutely correct for Stephen Mann to kill that Jace even at the expense of his own Elvish Mystic.
Likewise.
Because if Joseph gets untapped with Jace in this spot, he goes crazy.
Another Jeskai Ascendancy. That'll draw and discard. Olsen maybe considering discarding a Jace here. Implies he's got a pretty powerful hand if he's discarding Jace. No land to play, however.
Joseph also just needs to start converting here.
Yeah.
I mean, he sat around, he's had some good sequences here of killing some stuff and drawing some cards, but the board is starting to become a little bit unmanageable. And Joseph is at 27, which is a lot of life to work with, but Whisperwood Elemental will eat into that very fast.
There's a basic forest. Top card, it'll be a Nykthos. That'll be the draw for Mann this turn. So I'll shuffle away that Rattleclaw Mystic. On top of the deck now is a Nissa. Nykthos a bit of an awkward draw. Doesn't really help towards Nissa.
Yeah.
As far as land is concerned, since Steve already's got one on the battlefield.
It's not like Steven needs a lot of mana here. He's just kind of playing off the top of his deck.
Yep. Pretty healthy attack here for 8. Olsen going to go down to 19. Trigger, that'll be Nissa. Top card of the deck is a carry added.
Just even something like Valorous Stance for Joseph right now would be awesome. If he could answer Whisperwood Elemental, I think the game becomes very easy to play. But I think he just drew another copy of Jeskai Ascendancy.
Not great.
And Hostilities is not an ideal answer the following turn, even if he gets to that spot, because with Whisperwood Elemental, Steve is likely to be able to generate some sort of board on the way back to continue the pressure.
Looks like Olsen's going to take a point of damage to cast that. A little surprised. He's got 3 Mystic Monsters in the battlefield. Surprised by that.
He must have something he really wants to do for blue mana.
Yeah, or draw into.
Which I guess is his one copy of Treasure Cruise.
There's a Temple.
So he's willing to take 1 point of damage here to make sure the Treasure Cruise is something he can cast if he draws it.
Sure.
Which I think is reasonable.
Time to unmorph. Courser. And Nissa. Able to do that thanks to Nykthos. The draw for the turn is going to be Sylvan Caryatid. There's a forest on top. That's going to enter the battlefield. Courser will gain 2 life, as there are 2 on the battlefield.
And Steve doing this, that unmorphing there in large part so that if Joseph untaps and has a sweeper, Whisperwood Elemental is even more potent.
Yep. Attack for 10. Olsen going to go down to 8. It looks like Mann may have missed his manifest trigger again. That's actually really important too.
Yep. I mean, the problem now is if he's hit with end hostilities, he's only generating 3 tokens right now.
Yep.
So there's no guarantee as lethal. And if he simply does not find high impact cards off of those manifests, well, Joseph's has had Ascendancies in play for several turns now, sculpting his hand.
Also going to sacrifice.
It's especially painful because the top card of Steven's deck was a creature.
Yeah.
That he could unmorph and get 1 more token, which actually cuts off end hostilities as a card Joseph could even play.
It appears Olsen's going to go a different route, however. It looks like Elspeth might be on the way. Yeah, it is. It's going to trigger Ascendancy 3 times, by the way. So draw and discard a Hordling Outburst. Next up. There goes Ojutai's Command. Looks like those cards may have gotten stuck together a little bit, so Olsen may have seen the card underneath and not the top card, so get this resolved by our table spotter. And then play will continue again.
And Joseph doesn't even need to really take any risks here because he knows the information on Steve's draw step. That's the upshot from Joseph's side of Steve having a Courser in play. As a result of this, he knows that worst case scenario next turn is Steve is just going to be playing Rattleclaw Mystic, face up or face down. Elspeth allows him to block very easily this turn. And then he gets to untap plus the Elspeth, or excuse me, plus the Elspeth, and then sit back with a bunch of instants in hand, and then it's very, very challenging for Steve to attack going forward. And honestly, it won't take Joseph that long to just kill Steve from that board state.
Discard a Mantis Rider.
Now, the risk of this line of play from Joseph's side is if Steven finds land number 7 here to be able to trigger Nissa, then there's a lot more pressure than it appears.
Nissa on top of the deck now.
Steve could have really used a land on top. Would have made this a little bit easier.
Would have helped. Would have helped. No question. He was able to get some damage with this turn, but Elspeth's looking to stabilize in a pretty big way.
And once Joseph untaps,
then
things get really easy for him.
Yeah.
Assuming he's
got
got
hostilities, then
just
reset with Elspeth, something like that. Who
honestly,
knows?
any instance.
Yeah.
Just anything that allows him to attack and block.
I mean, this is a game where he was having some huge mana difficulties, but Mann wasn't really able to take advantage, and the life buffer from Soulfire Grandmaster plus Anger of the Gods really helped here. Nykthos going to come down.
This is just an effort to get land number 7 here.
Yeah, I suppose the question was, I don't think it flips in that instance because you don't control 7 lands,
Right.
like at any point when you have 2 legendary lands on the battlefield. I think that's what Steve may have thought would happen. It says when a land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands. But you're kind of like prompted to stop because you have to sacrifice one of your duplicate permanents.
I didn't exactly know how that state-based check worked in that spot, but it appears that you do not get the token, or you don't get to flip Nissa if your 7th land is a redundant legendary land.
Token's going to do some blocking, predictably. 2 damage will come through either to Elspeth or to Joseph. It's going to be to Elspeth, so it's going to go down to 3. Steve's got to switch gears now. There's a Morph, which is a Rattleclaw Mystic. And now a Manifest. Top card, Nykthos again. Nice.
And again, if Joseph can just clean up the Whisperwood Elemental.
That's what he's going to try to do here, then Hostilities.
This is not the ideal way to do it, because there's going to be another wave of creatures coming on the way back. But if he can answer the Whisperwood Elemental and Steve fails to find something else that can generate a large board or answer Joseph's, Elspeth is going to be able to stabilize this game.
Oh, sure. I mean, the Whisperwood Elemental is kind of answered right now, right?
Yeah, although I'm just saying there's another wave of things coming. There's going to be another turn of chump blocking from Joseph. He is at risk of certain things happening. I mean, even something like Dragon Lord Atarka could kill him from this spot.
Sure.
Depending on how Steven's mana breaks the following turn.
So there's going to be an unmorph. Whisperwood Elemental is going to be sacrificed. And that means 4 Manifests are going to be on the way here. So you see Steve conferring just to make sure he knows exactly how this card works. He's going to want to sacrifice that before Hostilities resolves. And now, again, he'll get 4 Manifests. So that's 1. The other 3 will not be revealed because Courser's not on the battlefield. And Elspeth will, of course, tick up. 3 soldiers on the way for chump blocking duty. But does Olsen have anything else to do this turn? I'm just going to pass the turn back. So Mann now will draw. A new army out there. We'll see if he can put together.
I mean, you look at the life totals, you look at the board, and these missed manifest triggers early on in the game
matter a lot.
They matter a lot.
Looks like everybody's coming in. Now the question here is he going to go towards Elspeth or Joseph Olsen's life total again? Looks like they're all going to Elspeth. Joseph not even going to block. Says, I'll let it go. The follow-up is a Sylvan Caryatid.
I mean, I respect this Ascendancy deck a lot, but if Joseph's going for a kill this turn, that is insane. I mean, maybe he can do it, but the no blocks there.
That'd be pretty impressive if he could do it.
I guess part of the reason to say no blocks in that spot is it's possible Steve has some large creature to unmorph, and the worst case scenario is you lose all your tokens and the Elspeth. I suppose Joseph always had the option of just letting through the first manifest token, which he knew was a land.
Sure.
In any case, here we go.
Dig through time. But first, 3 triggers from Jeskai Ascendancy. That was easy. Lands are gone. Now dig resolves. Take a look at the top 7. This could get interesting. Remember, every spell is +3/+3. So this probably isn't even that hard to do.
Like I said, we'll find out. I have all the respect in the world for this deck. You know this. But killing from this spot is ambitious. We'll see if he can do it.
Right now, 12 damage on the table.
And he can stoke twice. And each stoke is essentially worth 7 because of pumps plus the stoke.
Yep, there's stoke. 3 triggers. So draw, discard 1. Draw, discard 2. Draw, discard 3. Those will untap. Man, I believe goes on to 29. Here's another stoke. Draw, discard 1. Draw, discard 2. Draw, discard 3 momentarily. There goes Mantis Rider. Yeah, if there was not a Sylvan Carry added back on defense, it would be a lethal attack. As it stands, it just looks to be a pretty large attack.
Yeah, I'm counting 9 pumps on everything.
Yeah. So 20 damage comes through. Puts you to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now he's just going to kill him. I don't quite understand. I mean, that's a game where, you know, we can work our way into a draw.
Or Joseph can simply protect the Elspeth on board by allowing the Nykthos Manifest token to come through, plus the Elspeth again, and sit back with Dig Through Time and change in hand.